Hello, everybody. We're going to hit you up with yet another presidential election. This one, the election of 1856. Franklin Pierce trying to fight for that second term. Can he get it done? Let's find that out right now. Now, as always, we're going to start off with the incumbent party, and that is the Democratic Party. The incumbent president is Franklin Pierce, the dark horse candidate of the Democratic Party, who was elected in 1852. Now, Pierce has bad timing throughout his life. Before his inauguration, his only surviving child is killed in a train accident, and his vice president, William Rufus King, dies 6 weeks after the inauguration, and this affects his performance as president. But through it all, through his weakness and through all the tragedies, come 1856, he is going to attempt to win the Democratic nomination for a second term, but he has some opposition to him. That opposition being James Buchanan, the Minister to Great Britain of Pennsylvania, Illinois Senator Stephen A. Douglas, and Lewis Cass of Michigan. At the end of the day, Pierce is going to get cast aside, and James Buchanan is going to win the presidential nomination. Now, Pierce and Buchanan, they're what was known at the time as being dough faces. A dough face meaning a northerner with southern values. In other words, somebody who's a northerner that is sympathetic to the South. Buchanan's going to bring along for the ride John C. Breckinridge of Kentucky as his running mate. Now, we have ourselves a new party coming into the picture, and that is the Republican Party. The Republican Party was formed in early 1854 to oppose the Kansas-Nebraska Act. During the midterm elections, they were one of the patchworks of anti-administration parties contesting the election, but they were able to win 13 seats in the next Congress. But the party corroborated with other disaffected groups and gradually ended up absorbing them. And by 1855, by the following year, the Republicans had won 3 governorships. Now, the Republicans, they put on their list of candidates John C. Fremont of California and Supreme Court Justice John McLean of Ohio. And at the end of the day, there's going to be Fremont that's going to win the Republican nomination. The Republicans are going to approve a pro-slavery platform, an anti-slavery platform, that called for congressional sovereignty in the territories. They wanted to put the brakes on the expansion of slavery in the Western territories, and into polygamy and Mormon settlements, and federal assistance for a transcontinental railroad. The Republicans believe in infrastructure. They believe in these internal improvements, so kind of much like the Whigs, in a sense. Now, we have ourselves another party, and that is the American or Know Nothing Party. Now, the Know Nothings shy away from the issue of slavery altogether, and they focus on a nativist platform. They're opposed to immigrants, and they're also opposed to Catholicism. And they're going to put on their list of candidates Millard Fillmore of New York, former president, and a steamboat entrepreneur named George Ball of New York. And at the end of the day, it is going to be Fillmore who receives this nomination. Now, one thing to know about Fillmore, he wasn't even a know-nothing. He hadn't even attended a function of the Know-Nothings, and he was actually out of the country when he was notified of this nomination, but he went with it anyway. And he is going to bring along for the ride Andrew Jackson Donaldson of Tennessee as his running mates.
In the largest heart failure study ever, Entresto helped more people stay alive and out of the hospital than a leading heart failure medicine. Women who are pregnant must not take
Now, heading into the campaign, we are getting closer and closer to the Civil War. None of the three candidates took to the stump. The Republican Party opposed the extension of slavery into the territory. Their slogan was free speech, free press, free soil, free men, Fremont, and victory. The Republicans therefore crusaded against the slave power by warning that it was destroying Republican values. Democrats ended up warning that a Republican victory would bring a civil war. Now, in the Republican platform, they are opposed to the repeal of the Missouri Compromise through the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which enacted the policy of popular sovereignty, which allowed settlers to decide whether a new state would enter the Union as free or slave. The Republicans also accused the Pierce administration of allowing a fraudulent territorial government to be imposed upon the citizens of the Kansas Territory, thus engendering the violence that had raged in Bleeding Kansas. And they advocated the immediate admittance of Kansas as a free state. Now, along with opposing the spread of slavery into the continental territories of the United States, they also opposed the Ostend Manifesto, which advocated for the annexation of Cuba from Spain. The campaign's true focus was against the system of slavery, which they felt was destroying the Republican values that the Union had been founded upon. Now, the Democratic platform, on the other hand, they supported the Kansas-Nebraska Act. They supported popular sovereignty. The person who sponsored the Kansas-Nebraska Act was actually a candidate for the Democratic nomination, Stephen A. Douglas. The party supported the pro-slavery territorial legislature elected in Kansas. They opposed the free state elements within Kansas and castigated the Topeka Constitution as an illegal document that was written during an illegal convention. Now, the Democrats also supported the plan to annex Cuba, advocated in the Ostend Manifesto, and Buchanan helped devise this manifesto during his time as minister to Britain. Now, the most influential aspect of the Democratic campaign was a warning that a Republican victory would lead to the secession of numerous southern states and more than likely a civil war. Now, Fillmore and the Know Nothings, remember, they shy away from the slavery question altogether. They are opposed to immigration. They pretty much run on the nativist platform, and they're also opposed to Catholicism. But Fillmore was considered by many incapable of securing the presidency on the American ticket, so Whigs were urged to support Buchanan. Democrats also call on nativists to make common cause with them against the specter of sectionalism, even if they had once attacked their political views. Now, meanwhile, the Know Nothings insisted that they were the only, quote, national party since the Democrats were leaning in favor of the South, and the Republicans were fanatically in favor of the North and abolition. But of course, remember, this is not true. The Republican Party was not formed to abolish slavery. They just wanted to put the brakes on its expansion. Now, a minor scandal would erupt when the Know Nothings, who were seeking to turn the national dialogue back in the direction of nativism. If y'all guys don't know the definition of nativism, it's just a fear of immigrants. And someone who has that fear is called a nativist. They put out a rumor that Fremont was in fact a Roman Catholic. The Democrats ended up getting rid of this and run with it, but the Republicans found themselves unable to act effectively, given that while the statements were false, any stern message against those assertions might have crippled their efforts to attain the votes of German Catholics. Attempts were made, though, to refute it through friends and colleagues, but the issue persisted throughout the campaign. It might have cost Fremont the support of a number of American Party members. And with that in mind, the campaign's over with. We got ourselves our candidates, so let's see who's going to win this thing.
Thanks for watching. People love to travel, flying around the world, searching for
the Democrats are going to win this thing once again. James Buchanan is going to be elected president. He's going to win 174 electoral votes. The Republicans and John C. Fremont do really well for a new party. They're going to win 114 electoral votes. While Millard Fillmore only gets the electoral votes of Maryland, which amounts to 8 electoral votes. 19 states for the Democrats and James Buchanan, and 11 states for Fremont and the Republicans. And you can see this map is pretty sectional. Buchanan makes a sweep of the South. He's going to carry Missouri. He's going to carry Illinois. He's going to carry Indiana. And he's going to get some of those mid-Atlantic states, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. He's also going to go out west and carry California. Meanwhile, the Republicans, they're dominant pretty much in the North. They take the entirety of the North. And they're also going to take Iowa, they're going to take Wisconsin, they're going to take Michigan, and they're going to take Ohio. In terms of the popular votes, 45.3% for James Buchanan, 33.1% for Mr. Fremont, and the Know Nothings doing really well for the third party, 21.5% of the popular vote going to Millard Fillmore and the Know Nothings. Now, James Buchanan, his presidency is known for actions that he does that hastens the coming of the Civil War. But will the Civil War kick off in the election of 1860? We'll find that out next time. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, go ahead and watch those if you want. And with that, we will see you next time.